Welcome to The Construct. Today I'm going to be reacting to one of Stephen Barlett's videos from Diary of a CEO. It's about the real, brutal truths I wish I knew in my 20s. This is very, very important, especially for the young men now who I feel are just lost in the world. They don't have God. They don't have a woman. It's harder for guys to attract women, and they don't have any type of, mentor or father figure in their life to give them some type of motivation or guidance in that matter. So, Stephen Barlett, as you guys will know, he's one of the biggest inspirations to me. Um, I did my whole kind of, I mean, Joe Rogan has arguably the biggest podcast in the world, but Stephen, I think, has the most impactful one where he gets into real deep conversation with these guests that are willing to go in that level with him. So it's something I kind of wanted to implement on my own channel, but again, I'm not on his level where he has a team, thumbnail creators. It's just me by myself doing this. So just want to give him credit for where it's due. He's I have tremendous amount of respect for him and his, group for aligning his vision. And I think the first video I ever watched for him, I think was definitely the Mr. Beast one. And then when I saw the behind the scenes, I was mind blown, by his, determination to do what he wants to do. So let's get this started.
Humans need the gain to be 2 to 3 times bigger than the thing they
The
lose.
possible loss, yeah.
Yeah, so if the pain we experience from losing £10 on the floor or $10 on the floor isn't equal to the pleasure we experience from finding 10, we'd have to find 20 or 30 to equal the pain of losing 10. And that speaks, I think, in some part to why people stay in the situation they're in, because for me to go after a better relationship, it better appear to be 2 to 3 times better than the one I'm going to lose.
Interesting.
Or the job, it has to appear to be 2 to 3 times better than the one I'm sacrificing. And that almost keeps us pinned down. I actually did a bit of research a couple of years ago as to why we have loss aversion, like what's the evolutionary basis. And the best answer I could find was that we come from a background of trading with like other apes and stuff.
Yeah.
And there's often a risk that the person might not trade back, or so we factor that into the trade.
Yeah.
We factor in the probability that it won't be an equal trade.
Yeah.
And life's not an equal trade. We pursue things and we don't get them. And I think that's part of what's holding us in situations that aren't serving us and in the stress you describe.
It's surprising though, if you look back at your life, and you really take a factual view of the history of your life. Most of the time when you lost something, you opened up a space that allowed something else to walk in. Right? This is the truth of life, right? If you lose a job, that's the only time where you're allowed to actually find another job.
Shame hindsight doesn't have the wisdom of foresight.
Because your brain is a survival mechanism. Your brain is constantly ignoring all that you've learned and saying there could be a nuclear war. Right? And it's quite interesting when you really think about it, because I always say, if your worst fears have ever happened, you wouldn't be here right now. Okay? And by the way, if some of them happened, surprisingly, you're still here. Isn't that interesting, huh? So yes, your worst fear happened and you made it, because you never factor in the reality of how resilient you actually are. And I think that the trick really is also not the fact that we should be a little conservative and concerned about certain things, but how much of our life should we be concerned about? Like if you really rank the things that are important in your life, how many of them actually matter enough so that you don't make the change? 4, 5, right? But we hold on to 200,000 other things below the 4 or 5, 200. Let's say 2,000. Realistically, for each and every one of us, that my Hannah, when Hannah came to my home the first time, she looked at my home and she said, "Oh,
Hannah
is my wife.
Yeah,
I fell in love badly, and and again, because I had space in my life. Just remember that."
We're going to talk about that later.
Are we really? Are we going to go talk about Unstressable at all? When she came to my home the first time, she said, "Oh," because she follows my podcast and she knows my work and so on. She said, "Oh, you're not a minimalist. You're a minimalist wannabe." And I said, "What do you mean?" Because I am reasonably minimalist, right? But she has that attitude to things where she says, it's only going to come into my life if I truly love it. Truly love it. Like, I have 16 types of tea in my cupboard. Some of them I've never tasted, right? She has 2, but she really loves them, right? And I think that's the trick. The trick is when you rank life, you hold on to that, box of Earl Grey that you bought a year ago, and you're like, yeah, I'll drink it one day. Will you really? Right? You hold on to that friend that you met when you were 4, and yeah, this changed. You changed, right? But we hold on to those things, and the trick is, can we actually let go of those things? Can we leave the space for other things to come in, or for us to chill and find expansion in our life, right? So I used to have that attitude of trying every Saturday to throw 10 things away from my home. Okay, believe it or not, endlessly you can throw 10 things, or give away 10 things from your home. Last Saturday I had this beautiful humidifier, just to make the room a little more humid. Okay. And I was like, should I keep it? Should I throw it away? Should I keep it? Should I throw it away? And then I plugged it in and it didn't work. I haven't used it for like a year and a half. And you have to imagine that so many of those things are there. They're bugging you down. They're stressing your life. So if they're not used, they're stressing you. And you can choose to leave them. Just leave them behind.
Do you believe that? Do you believe that if you're not using it, even if it's just sat there, that it's stressing you out?
100%. And it's actually,
Yeah.
and you're depriving it of the opportunity to live.
That's
So
true.
think about, I know this is philosophical, but a humidifier is supposed to humidify.
So I'm gonna be completely real with you guys. This is me being very vulnerable. So I got into a car accident a few months ago, and I've not been able to go to the gym on my time schedule because I don't have a car to drive. Yesterday, I decided to take an Uber to the gym so I could cancel the membership. Because I've been stressing, I've been paying for this membership for the last couple of months, but I've been going consistently because I haven't, new job and things of that nature, right? And I've been stressing because I'm trying to just I'm already a minimalist, so I'm just trying to be more of a minimalist. And, in my mind, I'm just like, okay, I'm just gonna go on walks and just try to do other things in order to try to lose weight, stay in shape, stay healthy. I go to the gym and go to the front counter, say that I want to cancel. And the guy, he whispers to me, he said, listen, man, just so that you know, it's going to be like $58 to cancel, mind you. Because I have the yearly, maybe, I don't know, if it's a contract. I'm on the black card where you can go to any Planet Fitness that you want to. And it comes with other extra benefits, right? And I'm like, it's going to be $58 just to cancel something that I pay like $25 a month. So I was like, okay, I'll just keep it then. And then in retrospect, maybe I could have asked them, hey, can you at least lower me to like the $10 one? But at the same time, I don't know what's going to happen in the future. So I was just like, you know what, let me just keep it and not stress about it. So the stress I took to take the Uber ride to get there and then do other things on the side just to figure out that it's better to keep it anyway, just in case if in the future I might need to go back to the gym and you don't know what's going to happen. So sometimes the things that you don't use, like he's saying, it sometimes can stress you out more, not knowing that like there was nothing there to stress for to begin with. Because there's a woman I'm talking to as well, and me and her have been talking, and and eventually I want us to go to the gym together. So it's going to be something that I'm going to have to like keep anyway, especially with winter coming on. Winter coming, um, I'm gonna need to go to the gym more because again, when winter comes, that's when people tend to be a little more bloated and whatnot. So sometimes in life, the things that we stress about are things that like aren't really that big of a deal, and the things that we overthink, we tend to um, let our anxiety block us from certain blessings and certain things that could potentially lead to um, something blessing us in the long run. But we will never know unless we try, unless we actually just calm down, let things happen naturally. Because what I could have done if I was thinking correctly and not stressing over it, I could have just called the Planet Fitness and say, "Hey, listen, I was planning on canceling. I just want to know if there's maybe a potential fee to cancel." But I didn't do that. I just wanted because I was just in my mind because when I've canceled in the past, usually like there's maybe a small little fee, or there's like there's you already paid, so then there's no cancellation fee because you already passed through the recurring cycle. So yeah, I found that very fascinating and very true.
Right? It's not supposed to sit there and look pretty. If you're not using it, someone else will use it. Right? And believe it or not, the simple impact of when they're using it, you save them the need to actually buy another one. Right? And in doing that, you might have contributed a tiny bit to our planet. And you know, the hoarding that we have in our lives, the number of things that we keep. I love Arabic incense. And like everything, and you see sometimes silly things like, it's so what? Each of those is like $10. I had like 14 different scents, right? And then I realized, you know what? Anytime I light an incense, I light one. Okay. And when I need to order another one, I'll get it within one day. So when this one is about to finish, and I've really enjoyed it, really loved it, I'll order another one. Limit. You're supposed to constantly limit the number of things in your life. By the way, you may think it's not taking away from your life, but it's taking space. It's taking attention. It's taking the space of something else. It's requiring you to deal with it, clean it, dust it. It's just why?
Is this what you refer to in that stress quadrant from Unstressable as noise?
Noise? No, noise is what happens from within your head.
Okay.
So it's little stressors that you don't that don't happen in the real world. Okay, it's little stressors that when I'm looking at myself in the mirror, or when I'm driving and thinking about, oh, you messed up on that thing, right? It's generated. So the ton of stress is very straightforward. It is external and internal, macro and micro. So if you look at stress coming from within you or from outside you, right, internal and external, and if you look at it coming from a small reason of stress or a big reason of stress. The great example is trauma is macro external. Macro meaning it's a very, very high stressful impact, very significant, comes from outside you. We don't cause ourselves trauma. Something else causes us trauma, right? Trauma, capital T here. Huh? And yeah, so it's noise is micro. It's like that constant nagging in your head, like you need to. Your hair is starting to show white, like so constant nagging. It's like you're getting old. Okay, it's small. It doesn't kill you, but if you say it every day, it starts to become quite significant. Which actually is really, I think, the most interesting part of stress is to understand that stress is very good for you.
Yes,
right?
it is.
Until it kills you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what most people don't understand is that there are only three ways where stress will break you.
No, stress is good for you. Stress pushes you to your utmost human condition where you think that where you're comfortable at, it can elevate you and allow you to reflect and just push you to your absolute limitations. I remember that whole thing with the car situation. I was stressing like crazy, but then it allowed me to learn certain things, allowed me to reflect, and allowed me to learn and be able to not allow this to happen again in the future. Sometimes it takes certain things in order to allow us to grow. Some people learn the hard way. Sometimes, if you're a reckless driver, sometimes you need to hit a tree in order to learn that, okay, I need to be careful. I need to learn. So he's not wrong. He's not wrong. And I'm someone that I've say this all the time. I don't really live life trying to seek peace, or I mean, I want peace, obviously, but seeking happiness. Like life is always going to be stressful, especially when you are a man. Life as a man is going to be stressful no matter what. But it's a point that you take that burden and not your wife and your children. That is not their burden to bear. It is your role as a man to make sure that you push yourself to become the ideal masculine experience, because that is your burden of performance as a man, and no, the world will not care. Unfortunately, it's sad. It's really sad. And women will say men should be loved and this and that, but y'all won't ever do that. And those men that you would do that for are not men that you actually would respect. You want to be in your feminine. Um, it's sad, but again, stress does definitely gives you. It's a multiplier. It gives you a sense of reality that's needed. And a lot of these influencers, they don't know what stress is. They got millions of dollars. They're don't know what it's like to struggle. There's people out here with food stamps and Section A, and living still with family because they can't afford to you know be on their own. There's people paying like $400, $500 car payments a month, and that's not including maintenance. That's not including oil changes, gas, other things. And women don't like to be stressed out. It drives them crazy, which is why men need to. The economy itself needs to be better, but men need to be understanding their role and to allow that to be their burden, not the woman. Because when women get stressed, they become emotional. But men, we have to, and I'll be guilty of this too. I've become a bit. I shut down sometimes when I'm really, really stressed out. But I've learned to just allow it to be what it is, and just stay stoic, and just know that God is by my side, and everything will work out. Everything will work out.
One is trauma outside you, but we said you'll recover very quickly. The other is burnout, and the third is anticipation of stress.
Yep.
Okay.
Anticipation.
And these two are completely within your control.
Yes.
So trauma is outside your control, but 93% will recover in 3 months, 96% will recover in 6 months, and most of us will actually get post-traumatic growth. So post-trauma, you'll be fine. Okay? The majority of how stress kills us is burnout, which is a very large number of small stressors. So the burnout equation, as I wrote it in the book, is the number of stressors multiplied by the intensity of each, multiplied by the time of application of each, multiplied by the frequency of application. So take a commute, for example. If you commute is one stressor, multiplied by, if it's a 2 hours commute and it's very annoying and you're surrounded by people, it's very intense. Okay. And if you have to do it twice a day, it's very different than if you do it 4 times a day. Okay.
Right.
And if you have to do it every day, it's very different than if you have to do it once a week. So you add all of those up, the sigma of all of those. When that reaches the breaking point of what you can carry as a human, you'll break. Right. And normally you'll break because of a tiny thing, like your best friend goes like, "Hey, chubby," and you go like, "What? I can't take this anymore," and you cannot go out of bed anymore. Previously you would go like, "Yeah, skinny, whatever." You would just laugh about it. And I think the trick is to save yourself from burnout. It's not that one last stressor, right? It is all of the other 400 stressors that piled up, so that when that last one is applied, you break, right?
Sure.
And it is quite interesting because we normally never break because of stress. It's not the event that breaks us. Okay, so one of the interesting topics in Unstressable is of course Alice, in her very spiritual, soft, practice approach, wrote her parts of the book, and I was like, "Alice, I just still don't get it." And she said, "What don't you get?" And in my approach, I said, in physics, right, stress is very defined. Stress is very clear in physics, right? An object is stressed when you stress an object, you apply a force to a square area, to the cross section of the object, right? The stress is not just the result of the force. It's not the external stressor, the external challenge or threat that we face that stresses us. It's your square area that also plays in that equation. So basically, our stress as humans, if you apply the same concept of physics, is the intensity of the challenges that you face divided by the skills and resources and the abilities that you have to deal with that stress. Right? So the stress equation is your, the challenge divided by the resources. Okay? And that's why someone, like you, may be able to carry things that would make someone freak out. It's the reason why someone like me would, laugh about things that made me freak out in my 20s, right? Not because the event is different, it's because you increased your resources.
So how does someone increase their resources? Because I think everybody listening to this now, either they're that person or they know someone who flaps.
Yeah.
When things get a little bit tricky, they flap.
Yeah. So,
and when I'm saying flap, if you don't know what I'm saying, I mean like they panic or they worry or they have like a bit of a meltdown.
But panic and worry is a different topic. We should absolutely cover that. Okay. Right? So panic and worry is breaking down under the anticipation of threats.
Yeah.
Okay. But when it comes to dealing with stress, right? I don't know how to say it, but someone at work when I used to be in the corporate world would walk in and say, "Oh, the CEO has changed. We've been working on this deal for the last 9 months and the CEO has changed. Everything has collapsed." And I'm like, no, it hasn't. No, I've done 200 deals in my life where the CEO has changed and you have to rebuild your network and you have to do this and that and so on. I mean, I think the most valuable example I remember in my life is to the 2008 crisis. So when I joined Google, my boss, which I really adore at the time, he was so direct and very shrewd. And so the introduction, when I joined the management meeting the first day, is he says, "Hey, everyone, this is Mo. He's bringing the average age of the company up." Right? And I was like, one more sentence, please. Like, please say something else. He didn't. That was it. The introduction is he's bringing the average age of the company up. But when the economic crisis of 2008 happened, Google completely panics. And the older group goes like, it's not the first time. We've seen economic crisis before. It's cyclical. This is what happens. Maybe we should behave this way, right? It's the same event, but you have more resources because you've seen it over and over, right? So it's your accountability as a person to tell yourself that I need to learn the techniques, okay? That I need to understand to be able to manage stress. And the way we wrote them in Unstressable is we said, you get stressed in 4 modalities. You get stressed mentally, you get stressed emotionally, physically, or spiritually. Okay? Yeah. And each of those is a different, I don't know how to say, a different language course. So your mental stress speaks to you and responds to you in a language that is different than your emotional stress. It's different than your physical stress. That's different than your spiritual stress. Okay? But if you learn that language, then you can easily deal with that stress when it happens. Okay? And it's simple techniques. Like, we probably should cover as many of them as we can, but take the simplest thing. Mental stress is the kind of stress that wakes you up at 4 a.m. at night because a thought is running through your head. You can't stop it, right? Simple techniques are, write the thought down, okay? Promise yourself that you're going to think about it in the morning before you go to bed. And most of the time, if you simply let the thought reside on paper, it won't reside in your head. Okay. And keep the promise. So when you wake up the next morning, actually think about that thought that you made the promise to your brain that you will. Simple technique. And there are hundreds of those. Like, we have in the mental stress space, for example, we have something we call the GYMMMMMM. GYMMMMMM. So it's eight different practices, right? And the trick here is learn that technique, apply that technique, and you will be able to deal with stress a little bit better. Okay. And, creating a support network, your ability to question your thoughts. I have a technique that I call Meet Becky, the idea that you allow your brain to express things and share them rather than block them, and so on and so forth. Right. And that skill in mental stress is very, very different than emotional stress. Okay, because your brain speaks to you all the time. It rarely ever.
Maybe it's just me, but I just feel like all the stress is all the same. I think, like to say that a strong body, strong mind. Like spiritual stress, physical, mental, emotional, all that. I think it's all the same to me. Because I know that when I go to the gym, if I'm stressed out, I feel better in every aspect, spiritually, emotionally, everything. I think that if I'm stressed physically, right? But let's say I don't go to the gym. If I, fill my stress up and talk to God, it fills up everything else, and it kind of like equates to multiple things. Like it's like a domino effect of the other stresses in my life to not feel as bad. and not as annoying and as much as inconvenience as it was before. So I don't really agree with that, but again, maybe he's looking at it from a different perspective. For me, it's all the same. All the stress is like all entangled into one kind of branch, So I don't know.
But if at all ever tells you the truth, that's the language that your brain speaks. It only tells you what it thinks is the truth. Okay? Your emotions speak to you all the time, and it's always the truth. Right? So if you're afraid, you're afraid. There's no lying about that. Okay? But the problem is that emotions are so subtle, they're so blended, they're brush strokes of multiple emotions overlaid on each other, and we're told not to acknowledge them at all. So we don't even respond to the language, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your body speaks in aches and pains. Okay. Why that smile before you go to Australia, right? But yeah, but we ignore it completely. We go like, this is normal. It's normal to have aches and pains. I'm traveling for 16 hours, must have aches and pains, right? No, you must not. You have aches and pains because you're stressing your body. Okay. But if your body is your priority, you're not going to have
Yes.
the aches and pains.
No, that's
right?
exactly
Your
true.
spirit
That's why I say
through its
that's what I'm saying. The eggs and pain. He's exactly that's what I'm talking about. The eggs and pains that you get are not from being sore, from working out, or whatever the case is. It's from your mental. It all correlates. But if you fix your mental, then obviously the eggs and pain that you're feeling is going to be gone, right? That's what I'm saying. It's all the same. That's why I'm not saying I don't. And mind you, the physical with the aches and pain that you feel from your body is the same. Is it direct effect from your mental? So, but those are two different aspects of your stress that it could be. But it affects but it affects the body, it affects your mind, it affects everything, spiritually, everything. It's all the same. So that's what I'm saying. Like maybe I'm not, maybe saying it in a more scientific way, but I do feel, and I mean, I don't feel, I know that it's all connected to each other. That's how the body works. That's how spiritually. That's how it works.
I mean, spirit here is not a religious thing, right? But your non-physical part, call it your consciousness, and the part that doesn't relate to your physical form. Okay, it sends you signals all the time related to your purpose and what you're supposed to be doing through your intuition. How many of us listen to our intuition when we're running through life?
Okay.
And so when these are skills, this is the entire body of the book, the skills of how do you build your resources in terms of spotting by listening to the language that the modality speaks to you, spotting that you're being stressed, and then how do you actually speak back to it and deal with it with the resources that you need so that you're not that stressed anymore.
How do we know? How do we spot our own stress? Because it's hard, isn't it, when we've told ourselves a different story about the feeling or that sensation. We tell ourselves different stories about it. We say, this ache or pain is good because it means growth, or this burnout or this anxiety is good because it means, productivity. But how do we truly know that we've pushed ourselves too far?
I think the easiest one to recognize, believe it or not, is physical stress. Right? Physical stress is undeniable. It is when you have a sore throat, you know something's wrong.
Yeah.
And you tell yourself something's wrong. Okay. When you have back pain, you know something's wrong.
Yeah.
But you don't tell yourself something's wrong. Okay. And the symptoms of physical stress are very straightforward. Digestive issues, headaches, you're unable to sleep very well, you're unable to rest when you sleep, and so on. So it's very simple. Your body theoretically is a machine that should work seamlessly. Okay? Unless there is a disease or an illness or whatever, it should work seamlessly. It should simply be like a luxury car. You run it and it runs. Right? If it starts to shake and it's not performing well, you have to stop and say, what is going on? And every stress will give you a slightly different physical signature. Right? Anxiety is felt in your stomach.
The chest, yes.
Right?
The chest.
Fear is all over your body. You just want to run. You feel that, like you can feel it. The trick is, how do you get embodied? How do you allow yourself to sit with your body and say, so, Alice writes about a very normal practice is a body scan. And so few of us do it. On a long flight, you should sit with your body and go like, okay, close your eyes, take a deep breath and scan your body from your top of your head
All right.
all the way to your toes and see where it hurts. Right? And
yeah, so I agree with what he says. I mean, I see what you mean. Like, it's important to analyze and pinpoint the certain stress mechanisms that are within your body, because those pressure points are all within the nervous system within your brain that are allowing you to deal with those stresses, whether it's conscious or not conscious. So the physical is obviously the most easiest way to determine. You'll feel aches on your legs, your chest might feel heavy, your neck might feel like you might have slept great angle, everything, and there's no lack of sleep or anything, but it's the stress that um, your mind is just the mind does so much where it can literally affect your body to a point where you're going to feel sort of low on energy, things of that nature. So, but it's important to people don't take into account though, because people life be life, and people are just too busy trying to move on to the next project. Um, so it's very important to analyze. I have my um, project I need to work on next, but great video overall. Again, let me know if you guys want to see more of these type of reactions on the channel, and be sure to subscribe and see you guys in the next one.